Welcome in to the CryptoBroz podcast. I am the CryptoBullGod.
And I am the CryptoBringer.
And this is the recorded on Wednesday, March 2nd, released on some date and time. Episode number 9. Episode number 9 of the CryptoBroz podcast. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. You can find me on TradingView, and you can find me on Instagram. Where can they find you, CryptoBringer? Pornhub. There could be a miscellaneous video out there. Just waist down of me. You never know.
Oh, God. You're probably doing lunges or some BS. You can find me on Twitter, and good luck, because that's about where all I'm at, and that's at CryptoBringer. And once again, for the occasional smart-ass post. So, hello, world.
Yeah, you tweet every now and then. I see you on there. I honestly, things have been, nothing bad, but things have been just very busy. I feel like I've said that the past couple months, but things have been very busy. So I haven't been on Twitter. Twitter for me lately has been, I get pockets of time. So you'll see that I'm very active one day, and then the next day, like, you don't really hear from me much. So that's just kind of the way life is right now. So, but I'm trying my best. Trying my best to keep everybody updated. You have tweets that come out there every now and then. So, you know.
Every now and then. My last one, basically, I wanted to jump off a ledge.
Well, you keep things real. You keep things real. You keep everybody. You represent very well the emotional retail investor.
Here I am, folks. Here I am. That's right. And again, I fully accept the blame that I bought in while the market was doing great. If I sell while the market's down, it's going to come right back up again. Don't you worry.
Oh, it's already starting
right after
to.
I bought in, it went to crap. Yeah,
it's already,
yeah. It was starting to 6 months ago, 4 months ago. Here we go again. Here's another rebound. Here's a Jesus candle. I got a
the green Jesus candle. Okay, you're paying attention. You paying attention to those higher highs and higher lows that I keep talking about? The ascending triangle, the descending triangle, and the Bitcoin dominance. All sorts of clues there. Breadcrumbs, as I always say on my channel. Breadcrumbs to tell us what's to come. We don't know when. We don't know exactly when, but all the clues are there within the charts.
Every one of those Italian breadcrumbs are going to go up your nose soon because I'm getting sick of it. But anyway, all right. So, just a quick intro topic here for everyone because it's somewhat pertinent, and I say somewhat at this point. Yeah. The latest round of lockouts in baseball. Is it causing irreparable harm to the sport? And first off, CBG, are you even aware that baseball is locked out at this point?
Oh, I am. No, I've actually been following it a little bit, and I actually told I was sharing with the CryptoBullGoddess a little bit about this because what I was saying was, it's a shame to see what has happened to baseball. Baseball, to me, is a sport that has not evolved with the times. I can remember, the first sport that you and I used to watch together, it really was our first love. It was baseball. I mean, I remember listening to Harry Callis on the radio. I remember watching Wally Backman and the Pittsburgh Pirates face the Philadelphia Phillies. Eric Plunk. Of the Athletic A's. I remember baseball being a really fun time, and times have changed, and there are so many rules in baseball that need to evolve, and they've lost a lot of the fan base. They're essentially hemorrhaging fans, and when you have a lockout like this, it doesn't do anything to increase butts in the seats, right? So I definitely think what's going on right now is causing a lot of potential permanent damage to the sport. They really need to turn things around. What's your read on things?
I agree. On top of them, they attempted to make things better by adding the instant replay, and that's only caused the game to go on longer.
Yeah, and it's like, who wants to sit down?
Ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. Who wants to sit down for a 4-hour baseball game when there's how many games in a season? No one wants to fucking sit down for that.
162.
Yeah, no one wants to sit down for that.
The other thing right now, and this is not helping them at all, and this is owner-driven lockout. is, we have world events going on right now where thousands of people are dying, and we have owners squabbling over millions, billions of dollars. It's not a good look for the MLB.
I agree.
It's not a good look for their brand, and they're just driving it into the ground. Now, the minors will play. Single A, double A, triple A are going to play.
Yep.
It's the majors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so disgusted by the sport. I hate to say it, but let it die. Let it die. It'll come back in another form. But in its current iteration, I'm ready to move on.
It is quite possible, to your point, that it could somewhat die off and come back rebranded in some way. Because I think they're so far removed from what the majority of people would be interested in watching that... Yeah, I mean, like, who wants to tune in at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock for a start of a game that runs until 11 or 12? Like, there's not a lot of people that want to do that on a regular basis. So... yeah, and all the squabbling, to your point, with all, and you kind of put things in perspective with a lot of the real world events going on. You can't get representatives from both sides to sit down and just iron something out, and it just comes down to dollars. I mean, come on, guys. Like, everybody's making a shitload of money here. Like, can't we just, for the good of the game, figure things out here? It is a shame.
100% agree. 100% agree. Greed is killing that sport.
Yep. Yeah, it's a shame.
But, CBG... we would like you to give us an update, a quick and simple TA update on Cardano. What kind of bullshit crumbs is that dropping for us, CBG?
Well,
wait, hold on. Cheers.
Oh, cheers. I have headphones on, so, like, I don't think you can hear that. I just bumped my cup against the, my headphones. What are we drinking this evening before I get started here?
It's the same. My coconut pineapple rum Sprite Zero and Diet 7-Up and Simply Lemonade.
I have Vino Rojo.
Please stop. I don't care. She's not helping your accent.
Yeah,
you suck.
Yeah, I can't. I am a gringo. I cannot roll my R's for sure. So
mathematician suck at Spanish.
So let's get into this quick TA update on Cardano. I'm going to keep things very simple. Cardano is not a chart that I actively look at. I don't have a ton of interest in the project personally, but let's not get into that. Let's just speak to the technicals. So I'm looking at things on a weekly chart. Typically, that's what I'll do as long as there's enough price data. I like to zoom out on the chart first, and then I'll go in on a smaller time frame to take a more granular look at things. But let's just keep it on the weekly. I'm not going to zoom in any more than the weekly. So what I'm looking at here, and I'm actually just drawing this in right now, I also see a downward line of resistance. So I'm looking at a few areas of support, one main area of support, and it's important to know in technical analysis that you don't want to get too cute. You might draw a line, but typically in most cases it's really a zone, a price range. So what I'm looking at, for example, is I'm looking at Cardano sitting on support right above around 85 cents. Someone else might draw it at 84 cents or 86 cents, all right? But the point is, right around 85 cents, it is holding that area as support, which is good to see. It does look like it's trying to break through an area of resistance that will not be too shocking at $1. Okay, $1 is a psychological level. Typically within anything that you look at, stocks or cryptos, there's psychological levels. $1, $10, $100. Nice round figures that represent emotional, psychological barriers for price. So I'm looking at it sitting between 85 cents and $1. Once we break $1, I'm looking for this thing to shoot up anywhere around $1. I'm looking at around $1.40 to let's say $1.60. So once we clear $1, it could, with relative ease, shoot up to around $1.40 to $1.60. Once we break $1.60, then we start getting up to some fun areas close to like $2.50, and its all-time high at around $3.16. The last thing I'd speak to on a Cardano, and again, for point of reference and where I'm getting these lines of resistance and support, I'm looking at a weekly time frame on Cardano, ticker symbol ADA. I'm also looking at a downward line of resistance that has yet to break through. You can pull up TradingView, Cardano on here, draw it from the top at $3.16, and just draw a descending line of resistance going through the wicks. You never want to draw it through candle bodies because that's invalid. Draw it through the wicks, and you can see we're pushing up against a line of resistance. So once we break $1, like I said, look for that $1.40 to $1.60. As the next area of main resistance prior to hitting up to $2.50 to above its all-time high at around 316. So that's what I'm seeing for Cardano, CryptoBringer. Do you agree with that analysis?
Yeah, sure. The breadcrumbs are going everywhere. That's great. No, that's very good. Thank you. All right, CBG. So picking it up from there, looking at the current crypto market, the thing that I'm finding interesting is we're starting to see a variety of crypto services that are continuing to appear. One thing that I found particularly interesting, startups are beginning to offer to lend, not beginning, it actually has been happening, but they're offering to lend fiat dollars against your crypto. What does this open to the future of lending? What do you think about that?
So the first thing I would say here, first off, of any of the topics that you came up with for the outline for today's episode, beyond the last thing we're going to end with, I would say that I really appreciated this topic. So this, real quick, before I kind of share some thoughts here, one of the interesting things doing these podcasts with you, and I think that everyone listening should think of this in their own life, is when you have opportunities to spread knowledge to others, often if you're really paying attention, it actually provides you an opportunity to grow and become educated as well. So in this case, what I mean by that is, while we're sharing information with you based on the topics that we're discussing, what happened was when CryptoBringer brought up this topic, I'm sort of familiar with some of this stuff, but I'm not a subject matter expert in everything. So what this spurs me to do is to do additional research, and then I start going down a rabbit hole, learning more and more and more, and I have things on my to-do list. So I wanted to say, first off, thank you for bringing up this topic because it has spurred some things for me personally. But what I would say is, in terms of, what does this mean for the future of lending and what does this all spell out? Well, first off, it legitimizes the space. I mean, the fact that there's enough capital to actually perform lending between crypto to crypto or crypto and fiat, that speaks to how much the market is maturing. Now, based on the article that you did share with me, there certainly are, not surprisingly, some barriers within the United States because the United States tends to be slow from a regulatory perspective in adopting certain things. But in terms of what this means specifically to answer your question for the future of lending, beyond this, further validating the space, I think what this does is it really jeopardizes a lot of business that traditional financial institutions and lending services currently offer, or the business that they have. I mean, really what it's opening up for are more innovative companies to provide lending services that do not exist today. It really opens things up. I mean, there's a lot of exciting things out there where you can BlockFi is an example. So one of the interesting things what BlockFi does is you can actually collateralize crypto assets for fiat, similar to the article that you sent me. So really what it's doing is it's opening up to individual investors as well as institutional investors the ability to create value, not just in fiat dollars, but also in digital assets. So I think there's certainly a lot of room here. And the last thing I would say, and you may touch on this, is the banks are not going to be left out here. I mean, the banks will find a way to get involved. They will say one thing. They've been saying one thing for the past couple of years on how awful cryptocurrencies are. Oh, evil crypto. But they're going to find a way to make money off of it because they'd be moronic not to. They realize what's going on.
Yeah, and I think... Well, there was an article that came out either earlier this week or last week where a major U.S. bank, and it's slipping my mind who it was, announced that they will now hold crypto for their clients. However, I don't recall if it was just simply relegated to Bitcoin and Ethereum or just Bitcoin or if it was more than just that. That opens the realm of possibility of the borrower saying, okay, here's a 25th of a Bitcoin, here's a quarter of a Bitcoin. I would like money, the fiat money. I would like money in a signature loan. And here's the collateral, 25th of a Bitcoin. Now, what is going to protect the banks then in terms of, okay, now Bitcoin's dropped by 6%, because Lord knows we haven't seen that, and then it goes down again, and it goes down again, and I continue to rage. But, you know, how are the banks going to protect themselves for that? Are you aware of anything about that?
So this is a very good question. So to my knowledge, the best thing that a financial institution in their position could do is to indemnify themselves, protect themselves from risk, curb their risk by, say, for instance, let's just keep round figures here. Let's say that you put up as collateral, let's say you put up one full Bitcoin, okay, one Bitcoin. And to use another round figure, let's say Bitcoin at this time is worth $100,000, okay? So you put up a Bitcoin, it's worth $100,000. What the financial institution could do to protect themselves is they could provide you a loan for half of that value. So they could provide you, if you put up a full Bitcoin as collateral, they could provide you with a loan for $50,000. So they're really curbing their risk by 50% in that case. And if you're speaking about more volatile
I would
assets,
be so pissed if I had to give up an entire Bitcoin and I only got half its value. That's like trading in your magic cards and getting half the value at the comic store. Not that I don't know what that's like and how much that's raging me, but that's another story.
But that's really how they could curb their risk. And obviously in the spectrum of assets that exist in the crypto world, Bitcoin is actually the least volatile. So there's only so many assets they would consider given the volatility. But for something like Ethereum is more volatile than Bitcoin. So there would probably be a higher margin in there than 50%. But that's really, and I'm using 50% as a hypothetical. I don't know what the right margin number is, but that's really the way that they could curb their risk.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you. When I created this outline for today's agenda, something that I felt branched off of this that I would personally like to understand a little more, that I'm wondering if you can help explain to the audience, are stable coins. Because we've talked about the banks, right? We've talked about the banks and how can they compete with lending. And here come the governments around the world and are talking about stable coins, including the U.S. The U.S. is talking about stable coins. Why are stable coins important? Let's talk with that.
So stable coins, and I by no means am an expert with stable coins, but I have a good enough understanding that I can simplistically, I believe, explain kind of the more common stable coins that we're familiar with. So there's a couple different varieties of stable coins. Stable coins, and let's be clear here, stable coins are very different than cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies are, most of them are forms of blockchain technology, and they're not, think of it this way, they're forms of computer code, really. It's computer code, okay? And in this case, stable coins are something that are backed by something else. Now, way back in the day, if you knew this, and I think we may have touched on this in a prior podcast, the U.S. dollar used to be 100% backed by gold. Then it went to a partial backing during the Bretton Woods system. Gold, the dollar was backed partially by gold. So you sort of had this stable coin idea sort of thing going on with the dollar way back in the day. Now the dollar is backed by nothing. It's just backed by people who print it. So what a stable coin is?
No comment.
A stable coin. Let's talk about Tether. You know, Tether's gotten a lot of attention. So it has gotten a lot of attention. So Tether is the first important thing to keep in mind with Tether is that it is operated by a centralized authority that I think is based. It's based overseas, but I think it might be Hong Kong. But Tether is supposed to represent the value of one Tether is supposed to represent the value of $1. And the reason that I can say that is because hypothetically, although I don't think they're as heavily regulated as USDC, which we'll quickly speak to, Tether should be holding enough dollar bills that represent the Tether units. So for instance, if there were 10 total Tether units in supply, there should be $10 US to back it. Now, what would be the reason that someone would want to use Tether over the United States dollar? Well, there's a couple different reasons. Really, at this point, from my perspective, based on my understanding, it's really used as a means of exchange between different centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges where you can purchase cryptocurrencies. So think about this for a second. Just step back. If you want to transfer funds between exchanges like Coinbase and Binance, or maybe a decentralized exchange, topic for another day, we could talk about the differences between these exchanges. A decentralized exchange like Uniswap, or a centralized exchange like Coinbase. Without a stable coin, you would have to sell your Bitcoin into US dollars and then transfer the US dollars to a different exchange. So there's all sorts of fees and speed issues associated with that. Whereas if you owned the Tether or the USDC instead, the transactions shouldn't be incurring those fees and should be quicker to transfer between for trading purposes. So they do present that huge advantage. And the USDC, real quick, which is the same concept as Tether, but is quickly gaining more adoption than Tether and is catching up to Tether. This is something that was created and it's backed, again, by centralized entities, backed by Coinbase and Circle. Now, the one nice thing about USDC over Tether is USDC has been much more transparent and taken place with, been more transparent with the United States government, has gone through audits, and so there's a lot more transparency into terms of, are the funds really there? If we say there's a bazillion USDC coins or there are a bazillion US dollars to back it. So there's a lot more transparency than there has been with Tether. The other quick thing that I wanted to touch on was stable coins, and then I'll see what questions you have, CryptoBringer. I do know there's alternative forms of stable coins that aren't just backed by US dollars, and it gets a little bit more complex, and I'm not a subject matter expert, but there are DAO, which is on the MakerDAO protocol within Ethereum. It's an ERC token, ERC20 token. This is something that is not backed by a centralized authority. It's not backed by dollars. It's actually based on the Ethereum blockchain. And my understanding is there is no centralized authority. It's decentralized. And there's really algorithms that balance the supply of DAO in this case to ensure that the ratio is at 1. But there's all sorts of concerns with that too. There can be swings in the price at different points. So it does get a little bit more technical with the crypto-backed stable coins. And there's even things like stable coins that are pegged to assets. I believe there's a stable coin that is backed by, not backed, but pegged is the correct term. It's pegged to gold, I believe. So these assets really at the end of the day.
What does pegged mean?
Pegged means tied to the value of.
Okay, thank you.
So really, I think the key takeaway here, without getting into all sorts of unneeded granularity here, is that really the main purpose that I see from my perspective with the stable coins, not only as an advertisement platform for Coinbase to say they have one, is that it does allow for ease of use for transfer between crypto assets that are far superior than just using dollars, than transferring it into US dollars or some other currency. It's much more efficient.
Okay, so it's getting rid of the middleman, so to speak, by the USD dollars or whatever.
Yep.
Whatever currency you're using, and you're keeping it within the crypto world. You're just exchanging one coin for a quote-unquote stable coin and then going from there, correct?
Correct. And one of the things that, by the way, okay, speaking of the earlier point, is this topic also spurred me to look into something that I had some familiarity with, but really never delved into too much. As this crypto cycle ends, okay, or the bull cycle ends, once I've sold out of the market, which I've encouraged everyone as we start to get to the top of the market, which has not happened yet, In my opinion, it'd be very smart to scale out of your investments because we will have a massive crypto winter afterwards. That's just my educated view. So one of the things I'm looking into doing is I'm looking into how to best allocate and invest my funds. And one of the things that this conversation has spurred and the outline spurred was I looked into Abra, which is a company that I've paid attention to, but I haven't looked into too seriously. So one of the things talking about stablecoins is they actually are offering, so check this out, another benefit to having your value in stablecoins. You could be holding whatever value in stablecoins, and they're yielding an annual interest rate. Right now I looked, because I just signed up actually, at 8%, and they pay weekly distributions. So hypothetically, okay, let's just throw out a round number, if you had $100,000 in USDC sitting in Abra, it would earn you 8% a year, so that's $8,000. Divide that up by 12 months, that is whatever it is, between around $6,500, quick off the top of my head. And that's not $650, sorry, $650 paid out to you per month, but it's actually in weekly installments. So that the point of this conversation, or this point, is the other added benefit to stable coins is there are certain platforms that are giving you annual rates of return for holding them on their platform. Coinbase does not do that at this point. I'm sure at some point to remain relevant and competitive they will, but that is another benefit to stablecoins is you can yield decent rates of return by just sitting it in the stablecoin on a platform like that.
Wow, I had no idea that was even a thing.
Yep.
So that's really interesting to know. So at this point, I think it might be wise, since we haven't done it yet, is to say, if you like our channel and you would like to, be alerted as to when we post again, just click subscribe, and be sure to, click the thumbs up and maybe even add a comment. It helps us. It helps the algorithm, helps us be found for our 3 listeners that we may or may not have at this time.
One of the things I have to do a better job of, and I haven't done this for my channel a little bit, and I need to do it for our channel, I need to get like funny sound clips and educated sound clips as well. And I need to not only tweet them, but stick them under some profiles that have larger followers, to try to get this content out there. But yeah, guys, if you guys and girls, hey, if you appreciate the content, really, please consider subscribing to the channel, dropping a like, and leaving a comment, because it really does help us out. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. So I want to branch off into section 3, because I think we're leading into it, and this is really about the global instability. And we all
Section
know...
3? This is Section 3. As if the listeners are looking at the screen at the outline.
I know.
Let's get into Section 3.
Yeah.
For everyone that isn't aware, this is number 2, subset A, Section 3. Literally, no joke.
He's not joking. This is how I operate. Thank you.
I love the structure. No, I love the structure. It's just no one has a clue what you mean by Section 3. But go ahead.
So, on a serious topic, we're talking about global instability here. And we all know the absolute abhorred crisis that's going over in Europe right now, with the war in the Ukraine, because it is a war. Yep. And without really delving into that, as it relates to cryptocurrency, the war in the Ukraine has shown the absolute importance of cryptocurrency. The use case is being proven before our very eyes right now. The problem is the Ukrainians could not access most, if not all, of their financial accounts when this crisis first began. So what was the solution that many went to with the little funds that they did have access to? They threw it right into crypto. And many, you can Google it, you can search for the news articles, they're stating crypto has saved their lives. It's affording them the ability to be able to provide for their family and move on as they cross the border. As many people stay behind to fight for that country, if the men are staying behind and the women are taking the children to across the border to safety, those women have cryptocurrency that they are providing themselves and their children and their pets with food, clothing, and shelter. I think that's absolutely amazing, and I just wanted your thoughts on the use case proven with this absolute abhorred situation.
So what I would say is there's a lot of global events that are highlighting use cases for crypto and how advantageous of a technology it can be. So there's this huge event that CryptoBringer has spoken to. CryptoBringer, if you weren't close to some of the in Canada, what was going on in Canada without getting to the specifics, essentially there were peaceful, by the way, protests to some things going on there surrounding rules.
That's another good one. Yep, another good one.
So this is an instance where through executive order, in a very, evil way, really crazy to think that this happened in Canada and to think it could most certainly happen in the United States. Basically what happened in short was that Canada decided that it had the right and authority to identify people, anyone who was associated with helping or aiding any of the protesters. And if there were links found, so even if it was me donating to a third party and the third party was found to be donating to the protesters, I could be linked to that, right? Unbeknownst to me. And if I was identified, they could shut off access to my bank account. I want you to think about that for a second. For every hardworking person out there to put bread on your table for your family, for some government entity to come in and say you cannot access your funds, what the hell are you supposed to do? And my brother highlights the events going on with the craziness going on for the Ukrainians. And there was something else that's escaping me recently. Oh, not recently, but there's also Venezuela that has destroyed its currency and printed it into oblivion, which, by the way, is a fiat currency. From what I've seen, a lot of people there are turning Dash. Actually, the coin Dash is a prominent cryptocurrency that's being used. So there's all these use cases for cryptocurrency and this was really one of the premises of why Bitcoin was founded, was to get away from these centralized authorities that have control over people and to be decentralized in nature. I mean, it's a very powerful thing to hear that people's livelihoods were being saved by cryptocurrency. Really think about that for a second. There are people out there, people out there with an agenda that I've been speaking to on my own personal channel for well over a year now, that put up smoke and mirrors and speak to the quote-unquote evils of cryptocurrency because they fear it, because it invokes change and it disrupts the way things are done. You can tell I'm getting passionate right now. CryptoBringer, I'm bringing it home. But it's very scary to those entities that would be impacted like banks. They would be impacted negatively by this. But all these things are positive. What is it about what we're sharing that isn't positive? Think about if Bitcoin or any other of these technologies that were helping people out didn't exist. What would these people have done? How would their lives been negatively impacted had it not been for access to donations that were being made to help a lot of these people out? So it's just great to see. It's really great to see the way that this technology has been helping people out in certain really crazy, scary situations.
Absolutely frightening situations, and like you said, it's proving the validity and the power and the usefulness of cryptocurrency and why it needs to exist. And I think that we will see a fundamental shift with the perception of cryptocurrency over the coming years. When will we see that? As the embedded institutions, such as banks, begin to find ways to quote-unquote protect their business interests and offer the holdings of cryptocurrency. The tune will change. I guarantee it. The tune will change. That's exactly what we're going to see.
And we really are early adopters. That's the thing. We're going through a lot of growing pains right now, realizing the disruptive nature of the technology and how much growth there is. I've pointed to this many times. You and I had a podcast on this a couple episodes ago. We spoke about how small crypto is, like how small the market is. Like literally we're sitting under $2 trillion. $2 trillion is nothing. We quoted off how large the deficit is in the United States, how much money there is in real estate. I mean, $2 trillion is nothing. Let's talk when the crypto market is at $200 trillion. Then we can have a conversation.
How the internet 27 years ago was not a place you would ever want to shop or buy things or trust. And it was a fad. It was an article, I forget what major newspaper. It was a fad and it was going away. This is how we're communicating right now, everyone. It's through the internet. 27 years later, Al Gore invented internet, still exists. And it's extremely important to everyone. And this is why cryptocurrency, I firmly believe, in 20, 25 years, we're going to look back at this and there's going to be many people going, I wish I would have bought in a lot sooner.
And that's why, in all seriousness, as much as we like to joke around, and I know you like to joke around and give me a hard time, or keep things light. You keep things light. But that's why it is important to not lose that perspective, because even though we're suffering volatility right now and 20 and 30% swings are pretty common, and we're not exactly, we're not exactly at the point in the cycle where I thought we would be.
You think?
But who cares? Who cares? Like I keep saying on my channel, first off, who cares if the cycle tops, January or October of this year? Who gives a flying fuck if you think that it's going, your educated guess is it's going up to $9 to $12 trillion a cycle. And to your point, if you ultimately think many of the projects you're invested in 10 years, 15 years from now are going to be worth so much more, it's you can't even compare to now. Why do you care about the volatility right now if you've done your research? So you don't want to lose that perspective. You really don't.
No, I 100% agree. So I think that we will begin to see that shift in the coming months to the coming years as the world continues to evolve and use cryptocurrency. I really firmly believe that we'll see that. Now, I still want to tell you that fake Bitcoin that you dropped off on our counter, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago, I still want to shove it up your apparently greatly enlarged squat built ass.
Now imagine, thank you. What? Thank you very much. I have been told that by a certain person in this household. But keep in mind when I gave that to you, what the value of Bitcoin was, it was below $4,000. I mean, it's all about perspective.
I just checked. Bitcoin's below 2,000. Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is that one of the things that's really neat to see is just like my brother brought up about the internet and the technology and how it was laughed at and yada, yada, yada. I think that we really have an opportunity here to support one another within the crypto community, because social media, in this way, it's a positive thing. Think of the crypto community that exists on Twitter. It allows for more spreading of knowledge between educated individuals. You got to take out all the people that don't make any sense and are way up in the clouds or way down below, and just there's a lot of educated people out there that allows for connectivity. So we really have an opportunity within this small space to spread a lot of knowledge and take advantage of what's going on out there. It's really neat to see.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And before we transition into that, the last piece before we wrap up the podcast, I just think it's important that once again, everyone keeps everyone involved in the conflict over in the Ukraine in their thoughts and prayers. It's absolutely a abhorrent situation. We don't want to turn this into a political podcast with talking about it, but it's something that should not be happening. So certainly our thoughts and prayers are with everyone involved.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that's just being human. We don't need to get political. That's just being human. It's just horrible to hear and see what's going on. Yep.
Absolutely insane. So, with that, we certainly try, as you said, to keep it lighthearted here at the CryptoBroz podcast. And, a topic that I wanted to end with is something that the Crypto Babe and I have certainly opened up to in the past year or two. And this is just something I want to throw out to you and
Where's
throw
this
out to
conversation?
the
Whoa, where is this conversation going?
to you and to the two listeners / viewers that we have in this podcast.
Sweet. Yo, guys, if you're still listening, all 2 or 3 of you, can you hit the like button and
yeah, for the love of God. Oh God, here comes the crypto babe with my second drink. Thank you, gorgeous. So, day drinking. The way to go as we get older.
As opposed to podcast drinking.
There's day drinking. And thought process is you start at brunch, you start at lunch, you're hanging out with friends, and then, you start to curtail it around 4 or 5 o'clock, go home, have dinner, and, maybe you have a drink while you watch a movie or something. But that's it. That's your partying is during the day. Does that make you old or does that make you smart? Because I will tell you that, personally, I feel a heck of a lot better the next morning, and so does the crypto babe, if there's day drinking versus night drinking. CBG, what are your thoughts?
Well, typically as you get older, you are supposed to be more wise, right? So actually what you're saying...
Supposedly.
Supposedly. Some of us never grew up, but I've met plenty of guys like that, and women as well. But you should mature and get wiser as you get older, right? So to me, that sounds pretty damn wise. Because if you're drinking earlier in the day and it's not happening late at night, you're not waking up with... You have a less risk of waking up with those side effects. You can kind of... If you had a little bit too much to drink during the day, you can hydrate yourself and you should be fine for the rest of the evening and be fine the next morning. Plus, there is something... I will say this. First off, I prefer day drinking over drinking in the late evening. I do. And the second thing is, what I was going to say is, part of it does make me feel like I'm getting older when I say that, because there is a preference towards sort of doing things early in the day versus later at night. And there is part of me that feels like, yeah, I've definitely gotten older because that's not the way it used to be. But it just feels natural, right? And I like it. I mean, I definitely like day drinking over going out at night for sure.
Well, we kind of want to touch on that there for a second because, yeah, you mentioned about, that's not the way you were before. Before you were studying at night. It didn't really matter. I know you were studying because you sure as hell weren't hanging out with me and the guys. So, now you're having drinks, but they're during the day. And you're right. I mean, it gives you a chance to hydrate. It gives you a chance to have a meal, go home and relax after
We went out at night. We went out at night once I passed an exam. Whenever that happened, I would go out.
I sent you pictures of the place that we went after you passed the one test. And the crypto babe helped you through your drunken endeavors that evening.
With the broken crackers,
your shirt ripped open and water everywhere. And that's what you did to yourself. No one did it to you.
When you didn't know how to handle liquor at that age. Although I will say, I have commented that when this crypto cycle has near topped and things really start to get crazy, I'm going to go live stream and just have like a shit show on live stream. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Pull-ups? Will you do pull-ups in the bathroom?
I don't know what's going to happen. I can't imagine how euphoric I'm going to be once I've actually sold out of the market near as it starts to get close to the top.
I believe in a public restroom, you need to be doing chin-ups, competing against another guy that thinks he can compete against you as he's smoking a cigarette.
A cigarette, yes, I do remember that. I do remember that. Yeah.
That was about 18. No, I'm sorry. That was
let's not do
years.
Let's not do years because then people can figure out our ages. Let's not do that.
Well, whatever. I'm old.
I'm barely 30, so I mean I'm.
Yeah, sure. All right. If that's what makes CBG feel better, then that's what makes CBG feel better. Sure.
Well, there is your biological age, and then there is your actual age, right? So you could be 30 and feel like you're 20, right? Or you could be 40 and feel like you're 30. It's the same thing, right?
And for more positive tips, please reach out to CryptoBullGod on Twitter. Let's wrap this stuff up.
Let's wrap this shit up. All right. So we really appreciate everybody tuning in. We hope that you found the content extremely helpful on this 9th episode of the CryptoBroz podcast. So we're here to educate you on all things crypto, keep things light, and to motivate you to capture this, yes, generational wealth transfer opportunity, locking in those gains in this exciting
in 2075.
In this exciting world of crypto. You got to think long term. You have to think long term. It's an investment. So until next time, I am CBG.
And I am the CryptoBringer.
Ooh. Yeah.